So I'm standing there. My flight is in like 30 minutes, and this guy just looks at me and goes, 40 euros. And I'm like, 40? We agreed on 20.
Okay, before we get to how that ends, let's back up. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Vicky's English Podcast. I'm Vicky.
And I'm Daniel, reliving one of the most stressful 10 minutes of my life, apparently.
So last episode, I told you about my airport disaster in Bangkok. And at the very end, I mentioned that Daniel had his own near miss in Madrid.
Yes, and this is the story of what actually happened. This is why I was almost late. But before we start, everyone, please remember to subscribe to our channel.
Yes, click the like button and please share our podcast with your friends and family. It helps us a lot.
Absolutely.
It wasn't the airport. It wasn't security. It was
the taxi. Before I even got there.
before you even got to the hard part.
Exactly. I thought the flight was going to be the challenge. No, the challenge was getting to the flight.
So here's the setup for everyone listening. This is a B1 level episode today, which means we're focusing on everyday practical English. How to stay calm, how to stand your ground, and how to disagree with someone politely without sounding rude. This is one of the trickiest balances in English and, honestly, in any language.
It's harder than it sounds. Trust me.
Set the scene for us. Where were you? What time was it?
Okay, so Madrid. I have 40 minutes until my flight starts boarding. I just got in a cab outside my hotel. I'm already a little stressed because I left later than I planned.
Classic.
Classic me. So I get in, I tell the driver, aeropuerto, por favor, which is basically the only Spanish I fully trust myself to say correctly. But
A safe choice.
a very safe choice. And we start driving. And everything is fine. Totally normal. Until we get close to the airport.
And that's where it goes wrong.
That's exactly where it goes wrong. So, do you want me to just tell it, or do you want to stop me along the way?
Tell it your way first. I'll jump in when something's worth pausing on. Everyone listening, Daniel's going to walk us through this like it's happening, so stay with him.
Okay. So, we pull up close to the terminal, and traffic's bad, and I'm checking my phone every 10 seconds. 38 minutes, I remember thinking. Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
Already stressed.
Already stressed. So we stop, and he turns around and says, okay, we arrive. 40 euros, please.
And what's going through your head?
Confusion, mostly. Because on the highway, I definitely saw the meter around 20 euros. So I say, kind of hesitant, 40? Sorry, I think the meter said around 20 when we got on the highway.
Already too polite.
Already too polite, yes. And he goes, airport has different price. Supplement. Everybody pay this. And I actually almost just accepted that. I said something like, oh, okay, I didn't know about that. Is that normal?
Straight to accepting it, before you even knew if it was true.
Exactly. That's the moment I want to come back to later, because that's a real pattern for me. I default to agreeable even when something feels wrong.
We'll definitely come back to it. Keep going.
So then the meter actually beeps and it's showing 22, not 40. So I point that out. And now he switches tactics completely. He says, meter is broken. I tell you already, is broken today.
Convenient timing.
Very convenient. And I laugh nervously and say, it was working the entire ride though. And he gets short with me. Sir, I have another passenger waiting. You want to argue or you want to pay?
Pressure tactic. Classic.
Total pressure tactic. And it worked because I got flustered and I said, and this is the line I actually cringe about, no, I don't want to argue. This doesn't make sense. You can't just say the meter is broken because the number doesn't match what you want.
Okay, pause right there for a second, because that's a really important shift.
You went from too soft straight into sounding accusing. We're absolutely coming back to that sentence. Keep going.
Right, and he actually reacts to it, sharper, kind of offended. You are calling me a liar? And I panic and backpedal immediately. No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying...
Soft, sharp, soft again. A lot of movement in a short amount of time.
A lot of movement. And then, this is the part that actually got me. He changes tactics again. Quieter, almost friendly this time. He goes, look, I tell you truth now. Is tourist tax. City adds this tax for airport trips, for foreigners. Not my choice. I don't like it either, but I must collect it.
Oh, that's a good one. Very believable sounding.
Extremely believable in the moment. I actually said, a tourist tax? I've never heard of that. And he says, most tourists don't know. Is new. Last year. And I'm not proud of this. My hand actually started moving toward my wallet.
The wallet moment.
The wallet moment. I was halfway through saying, okay, I mean, if it's an actual city tax, that's different. That's not really your fault, so... And then something just clicked. And I stopped, mid-sentence. And I said, wait, actually, no. Hold on. Can I see something official? A receipt, a sign, anything with this tax written down?
That's actually excellent. We're definitely coming back to that one too.
He did not like that question. He got irritated. I don't carry paper for this. Everybody knows. And I said, a little shaky but holding my ground, if I don't know and there's nothing to show me, I don't think I should just believe it. And he just repeats flatly, 40 euros. This is the price.
Standoff.
Total standoff. And that's when a guy waiting nearby, a local just standing there, walks over and goes, hey, everything okay here? I heard some raised voices. And honestly, I was relieved. And I just kind of dumped the whole situation on him. The 40 euros, the meter, the broken meter excuse, now the tourist tax I'd never heard of.
And what does he do?
He raises an eyebrow and says, a tourist tax? First time I'm hearing about that one too, and I live here. And the driver tries again. Is real. Sometimes they add it. And the guy just says, completely calm. Sometimes is doing a lot of work in that sentence. Then he says to me, give me 1 second. Talks to the driver in Spanish for a moment and comes back and says, I just asked him directly. There's no special airport supplement and no tourist tax for this zone. Neither of those exist here.
And the driver?
Backs off, quieter, is common practice. Sometimes. And the guy just says, firm but polite, sometimes doesn't mean legal. You should pay what the meter says. 22. And something in me finally clicks all the way, and I say, right, yes, that's what I've been trying to say. I'm happy to pay exactly what the meter shows, 22 euros, but I'm not paying 40 for a rule that doesn't exist.
And he just gives in?
Grumbles, but yeah, fine, 22. I paid him, and I actually said, thank you. And genuinely, thank you for the ride. I don't want any bad feelings. I just needed it to be fair. Which, looking back, is very me, apologizing even while winning.
That tracks.
And the local guy just smiles and says, happens sometimes with tourists heading to the airport. Not always, but sometimes. Good instinct to check the meter. And I told him I almost didn't. I almost just paid it because I didn't want to seem rude. And he said something that's honestly stuck with me. That's the trap. Being polite
doesn't mean you have to accept a price that isn't real. And then I looked at my phone, panicked all over again, said thank you about 4 more times, and just ran.
And made the flight?
Barely. But yes.
Okay, so first of all, are you okay reliving that?
I'm okay. My heart rate was not okay in the moment.
I believe it. All right, let's actually break this down, because there's a lot of really useful English in that story, and also a few moments where I want to gently point out what went wrong.
Please. Roast me.
Not roasting, coaching. First moment. Right at the start. When he says 40 euros, what's the very first thing you say?
Oh, okay. I didn't know about that. Is that normal?
Right. And what's the problem with that response?
I basically accepted it before I even knew if it was true.
Exactly. You went straight to accepting instead of questioning. This is really common for English learners. When you're not confident in the language, the instinct is to be extra polite, extra agreeable, because you don't want to say something wrong or rude by accident.
That is exactly what was happening in my head.
Totally understandable. But here's the natural English alternative. A native speaker in that situation, staying calm and polite, would probably say something like, "Hold on, that doesn't match the meter. Can you explain that?" Simple. Not aggressive, not rude, just a direct question.
Hold on. That doesn't match the meter. Can you explain that?
Exactly. That phrase, "Can you explain that?" is incredibly useful. It's firm, but it's not an accusation. It puts the responsibility on the other person to justify themselves without you attacking them.
I like that. That feels usable.
It is. Okay, second moment. The one I flagged mid-story. You went from too soft straight to sounding like you were accusing him of lying. You can't just say the meter is broken because the number doesn't match what you want.
Yeah, that one.
And technically, grammatically, that sentence is completely correct. Nothing wrong with the grammar.
But
the tone lands as an accusation. And that's a B2 level distinction I really want listeners to catch. Natural English isn't just about correct grammar, it's about how a sentence lands emotionally. The same idea, softened slightly, sounds completely different. Try this instead. "I understand, but the meter is showing 22, so I'd like to pay that amount."
I understand, but the meter is showing 22, so I'd like to pay that amount.
Notice what that does. I understand. You're not dismissing him, but you're still disagreeing. And "I'd like to" is much softer than a flat demand, while still being completely clear about what you want.
That's such a small change, but it feels totally different.
That's the whole lesson of natural English at this level. Tiny shifts in phrasing change how confrontational something sounds without changing the actual meaning. Okay, B2 upgrade moment. Instead of "I'd like to pay that amount," a slightly more assertive native speaker might say, "I'm happy to pay what the meter says, nothing more." That phrase, "nothing more" at the end, adds a small, firm boundary without raising your voice at all.
I'm happy to pay what the meter says. Nothing more.
Exactly. Calm, friendly tone. "I'm happy to." But the sentence ends with a clear line that isn't moving. That combination, friendly opening, firm closing, is honestly one of the most useful patterns in English for any kind of disagreement. Complaints, negotiations, even disagreeing with a coworker.
I need to write that one down.
Okay, one more moment. The turning point of the whole story, honestly. When he mentioned the tourist tax, you almost just paid it.
I know, my hand was already moving.
But then you caught yourself and you said, "Can I see something official? A receipt, a sign, anything with this tax written down?" That's genuinely excellent English, and I want to explain why it works so well.
Please, because honestly, in the moment, I wasn't even thinking about grammar. It just came out.
That's actually the best sign. It means it's becoming natural. Here's the structure. You're not saying, "I don't believe you," which would sound like a direct attack. Instead, you're asking for evidence. This is a brilliant B2 level move because it shifts the entire burden of proof onto the other person without you ever having to accuse them of anything.
So instead of saying you're lying, I'm just asking a question they can't really answer if it isn't true.
Exactly. And this phrase works far beyond taxis. A landlord inventing a mystery fee, a shop refusing a return and citing a made-up policy. Same tool. Any situation.
I'm actually going to remember that one specifically because I've been in that landlord mystery fee situation before and I just paid it.
Well, next time, you know what to say. Last thing, the local guy who stepped in. His language matters too. He said, "sometimes" doesn't mean legal. Short, clear. He's not lecturing anyone. He's just stating a fact that ends the argument.
It really did end the argument. The driver backed down almost instantly.
Because there was nothing left to argue with. Sometimes the most powerful sentence in English isn't the longest one. It's the shortest one that's completely true.
Huh. I like that a lot.
One last thing before we replay it. This isn't just about language. It's a little about culture, too. In places like the US or UK, prices are usually fixed, so the instinct to question a fare or a fee just isn't trained into people. In plenty of other countries, negotiating a price is normal, even expected.
That's exactly what happened to me. My first reaction wasn't, "this is wrong." It was, maybe I just don't understand the rules here.
Right. So the English you needed wasn't just grammar. It was permission to question something that felt official but wasn't.
That's a deep way to describe a taxi argument.
I contain multitudes. Okay, you ready to run it back?
Let's go. Redemption round.
All right, same scene, but let's hear it the way it should have gone. Tell it to us like it happened this way instead.
Okay, so same traffic, same 38 minutes on the clock, but this time I'm actually calm about it. We pull up, he turns around. Okay, we arrive. 40 euros, please. And this time I don't hesitate. I just say, "hold on, that doesn't match the meter. Can you explain that?"
Immediate, no warm-up.
No warm-up. And he tries the supplement excuse. Airport has different price. Supplement. And I stay steady. I understand, but the meter is showing 22, so I'd like to pay that amount. He switches to the broken meter line. Meter is broken today. And I just say, calm, almost pleasant. It was working perfectly the whole ride, though. I'm happy to pay what the meter says. Nothing more.
And the tourist tax?
He tries it. Is tourist tax. City adds this for foreigners. And this time, I don't even flinch. I just say, "is that written anywhere? A receipt? A sign? I'd be glad to pay it if I can see it's official." Dead silence. Then, quieter. "I don't carry paper for this." And I just say gently, "then let's just go with the meter. 22.
No bystander needed this time.
None needed. He just says, "fine, 22. And I hand it over and say, "thank you. I appreciate it. And genuinely, safe driving out there." And he almost smiles. Safe flight.
Huge difference, right? Same situation, same driver, completely different outcome. because the language shifted from either too soft or too sharp into calm and firm at the same time.
It's a totally different feeling telling it that way. I actually felt in control the whole time.
That's the goal. That's what natural, confident English sounds like in a real conflict. Not aggressive, not passive, just clear. All right, listeners, your turn. Here's the situation. You order a coffee. The menu says $3.50, but the barista tells you it's €5. No explanation. What do you say?
Think about it. Pause the episode if you want a few extra seconds. Okay, here's a strong model answer. The menu says $3.50. Can you explain the difference? Calm, direct, and it puts the question back on them, without any accusation.
And if they push back?
Then you go straight to the line we practiced. I'm happy to pay what the menu says. Nothing more. Simple, friendly, firm.
I'm going to be using that one a lot, honestly.
It's a genuinely useful sentence for life, not just English class. Okay, one more, a little trickier this time. You're at an outdoor market, no price tags, and the seller quotes you a price that feels way too high for a small souvenir. What do you say?
This one's harder because there's no menu to point to.
Exactly. No meter, no menu, nothing official to lean on. So the strategy has to shift slightly. Try this. That seems high for this. What's your best price? You're not accusing them of cheating you. You're just opening a negotiation, which is completely normal and expected in a market like that.
So, it's less about proving a rule and more about just starting a conversation.
Right. Different context, different tool. With the taxi and the tax, you had an official number to point back to. So you used, can you explain that? And is that written anywhere? At the market, there's no official number. So instead, you use an opening move. What's your best price? Which native English speakers use constantly while bargaining. And it signals immediately that you know what you're doing.
I definitely didn't know that phrase existed until right now.
Now you do. Add it to the list. Okay, quick recap before we go. Today we covered questioning something calmly instead of accepting it. Can you explain that? Softening disagreement while staying firm. I understand, but... And ending a sentence with a clear boundary. Nothing more.
And the biggest lesson for me personally, being polite doesn't mean giving up.
Exactly. Firm and friendly can absolutely exist in the same sentence.
Noted. Permanently.
So that's the real story behind why Daniel almost missed his flight. It wasn't the airport at all.
It was a €40 negotiation I did not train for.
Well, you're trained now. All right, everyone. That's it for today's episode. If this helped you, share it with someone who's traveling soon. They'll thank you later.
And hey, speaking of stories that almost went wrong, Vicky, didn't you say something once about getting lost backstage at a concert and ending up somewhere you really weren't supposed to be?
That is a story for another episode.
Noted. We'll be back for that one.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Learn English, live English, speak naturally. See you next time.